Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's and this year's final council meeting for 2024. It's being held and transmitted electronically via the council chambers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's and this year's final council meeting for 2024. Our gathering is being held and transmitted electronically via the council chambers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's and this year's final council meeting for 2024. Any introduction of late items? Looking to staff first? Nothing? Council? Nothing there. Looking for approval of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Frisbee. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Moving on. Public input. This is your opportunity for the public to engage with us on any subject that is on tonight's agenda. If you feel you have some input, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address council. No questions will be afforded until the end of the meeting, but if you have some input, this would be the time to do it. Seeing none, we'll move on. Looking for adoption of the minutes. We have minutes of the public hearing on November 26th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Sandu, seconded by Councillor Bomaka. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. We have other minutes of the regular meeting of the same day, November 26th. Any errors or omissions in that you see? Looking for a mover, Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Sandu. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Any business arising from those, Joseph? Thank you. No delegations or representations. We have no correspondence items this month. So going to reports. We'll go to council and committee reports. We have committee of the whole. I'll turn to Councillor Frisbee for those recommendations.
Yes, we had a committee of the whole meeting on December 10th. Of those items moved and carried, we had a recommendation for development approval procedures and notifications. There is 4 points there. Do we want to go through those when applicable, particularly when amendments are initiated by owners of property, on-site signage professionally done are required and posted indicating the nature of the amendments being proposed. Point 2, public notice posting places the municipal hall at 39 South Shore Road, which may include a digitized signage board and the main page of the town's website. Number 3, social media posting. Public hearings are posted on Facebook at least 14 days prior to the hearing. And number 4, where the public have provided personal emails, notifications of public hearing by the email may be provided to those individuals if the amendment affects in excess of 10 parcels. And that was carried. We passed the Lake Cowichan Fire Department incident report for $15,347. And that was all that we did.
So you're moving those recommendations? Do I have a seconder?
Moving. Yes.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bomaka with a question.
Sorry. Public notice posting places and the municipal hall at 39 South Shore Road, which may include a digitalized signage board. Is there a reason it says may?
Yes, indeed, because we have to get the digital board, so it may take a bit of time. So that's why you may want to change that. Shall include instead of may.
Shall include or will include?
And when you do the bylaw, that's
Yes.
maybe where you want to make the change.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you. Cowichan Lake Recreation Commission, Councillor Sandu, anything there?
No meeting in December.
Thank you. Vancouver Island Regional Library. That is Councillor Bomaka now, is it not?
Yes, it is. I was just gonna say there was no meeting, but if it can be changed to my name instead of Counselor Austin.
Thank you very much. Advisory Planning Commission, Counselor Austin.
Bill 44 and our OTP and the potential housing agenda and quite a few little things that we have here. Nothing major, though, just a good discussion on all the different things that they want us to do and what the games are doing there.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Community Forest Co-op, nothing to report on that one. Cowichan Valley Regional District Board meetings. That's fine. Myself and my alternate have been attending the budget process for the Cowichan Valley Regional District. A couple of very long, intense meetings. Within one of the meetings, three-stream pickup within the electoral areas was a significant topic. And just looking back on January 2015, the town of Lake Cowichan implemented organic pickup. So we've been doing it for a decade, and the CBRD is finally catching up. When we look at diversion of approximately 40% of organics leaving the landfill into the organic process, the return on investment on that has been seen over a number of times in that 10-year period. There will be significant increases in the functions that we do participate in, particularly in the regional recreation portion. This is the third and final year of the implementation of the full usage of recreation on the 9 facilities identified. There will be a survey come forward at those 9 facilities in the near future on usage, and then be apportioned accordingly to what each jurisdiction has for usage in those facilities. Also, moving forward, looking at a regional growth strategy that is in the infant stages to look at how the Cowichan Valley will grow within the communities that are represented within there. Looking at the infrastructure of the major urban centers and acknowledging that some of the urban or rural areas wish to keep that autonomy of rural lifestyle. The budget has not been finalized, but Councillor Sandhu attended a lengthy budget process where service enhancements and supplemental requests were brought forward by senior staff at the CBRD, and I will turn to her if she has anything to include.
I didn't bring my notes, so I'd actually like to address this in January, if I may.
Absolutely, but I will recall that there were a number of requests for increased staffing that were brought forward. Some were approved to accommodate some gaps within the service delivery of the CBRD, and some were not approved. One of the ones that we're looking for was a fleet manager to look at fleet management within the CBRD. Another one was facilities upkeep, and I'm not sure if that one is going to go forward, but that's looking at recreation facilities and fire halls within the electoral area districts. So when the budget is finalized for the CBRD, I will be posting that on the town's website as to what the implications of the functions that we participate in will be. It will have an effect on how we move forward in our budget process, knowing full well that taxation is a burden not only to the constituents of Lake Cowichan, but it's also to council. We are taxpayers as well, and we understand the pressures not only of our taxation, but every level of government. And a small GST holiday is not going to afford us to go much further. So with that, I will keep you apprised as to how that transpires. Any questions? Thanks. I wasn't going to answer them anyway. Looking, Community Outreach Team, Counselor Austin.
Thank you. There's no meeting this month because they're working on hampers. We're doing the hampers on Thursday. I think it starts at 9:30 at the community hall. And I believe there's at least 200 going out that day. It's a really wonderful community thing to be part of. I quite enjoy helping out with that and helping and giving things off to people. Lots of good donations this year. It's been very good. So our next meeting will be the third Thursday in January.
Thank you for that. Looking for our Cowichan. Anything there, Counselor?
No meeting in December. Our next meeting is January.
Staying with you for Cowichan Watershed Board.
No meeting in December. Our next meeting is in January.
Was that a rewind? Otaki Twinning, do you have anything, Counselor Austin?
The only thing I have is that the group that's going to Otaki next year is working very, very hard and doing a lot of fundraising, a great group of people. And our executive secretary is working with them very diligently, getting all the hotels and air flights and things like that. And they're doing very well. And we're going to do another group in 2026. So I'm going to connect with the students in the spring that want to go in 2026 and get them to meet up with this group before they go and then pass the baton over to them so that it doesn't just die like it did in the past. So that's what I'm hoping for. And Counselor Frisbee, did you want to be introduced to the group in January? I'll find out what time their meeting is and we'll go together and do that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to staff reports from the CAO Advisory Planning Commission appointments. Joseph?
Yes, as in previous years, we've had not a lot of interest in the serving on the APC. We've generally gone out a couple of times to get additional members, and this year is no exception. As you can see, we advertised for 5 people, we got 3. And so the 3 are listed here, and it's here for your approval.
So the 3 names are in that report.
Yes.
Someone like to move that? Input, Counselor Frisbee.
Yeah, just looking for feedback on where it has been advertised. I know we haven't posted on our social media for over 6 weeks. So where has it been posted and can we post the social media? Because after speaking with some of the public today, there wasn't a lot of knowledge of the opportunity.
Well, if I may, we've always advertised on our website, as in previous years. The last time around, we did get a lot more interest, but people are, when they apply and they're not considered, they kind of lose interest. So the second time that we've advertised, we can post it in the newspaper, but I'm not sure if that gets enough exposure, but that's really up to you.
Just to follow up, yeah, as I said, a lot of people aren't aware of the posting. So if we're to post social media, and I also I didn't know that it was being advertised either. So I think we can get a lot of more buy-in if it's just out there. I realize the newspaper is what the standard has been, but social media is the way forward to me.
No, thank you. So what is your pleasure on this question, Counselor Sandhu?
So you stated that you would do more advertising in the new
I
year?
have already on the website.
Okay. Okay. So maybe we could get something on our social media also, and then we could all share it and thank you.
Will do.
So would you like to pause the appointments until, or would you like to do these and include another advertisement looking for direction?
I'd like to see it advertised and us get some names because we could push these 3 people through, but I mean, let's get at least 5 before we move this through. I'd like to see the APC move forward in a positive note, and with their final 2 years of this term, I think we should reinvigorate that group and get some people on board, even if we have to go out and ask some people to become involved in it. There's a lot of valuable members of the community. So I'd like to see us wait until this is advertised. The thought of advertising on a website, like if I don't have a reason to go to a website, I don't go and check on a website. So we need to get in the habit of posting on social media. You may as well throw it into the wind if you just posting to a website.
My only concern with, if I may, with waiting is if there is topics that come forward for the APC's input in January, and we don't have an APC at least core group. I wonder how the work going forward would be solved, looking to the CAO on that matter.
It will then be referred to council, and council will have to deal with the issues that come up. Because you won't have a group to refer it to. You may have to make that decision yourselves.
Go ahead.
I'd like to move that we make the appointments at the next regular council meeting once we advertise this position further.
Do I have a seconder on that? Seconded for discussion. Opening the floor for discussion.
I don't see a problem with the three that are on here. One of them in particular is fairly new, but, and it is, something comes up. I think the regular meeting in, January might be after the APC in January. I don't have a January calendar in front of me. I don't know.
The fourth, well, the fourth Thursday.
Fourth Thursday. And we are the fourth Tuesday.
Like, one of the people is quite new there. And she's only
Will be
been
on
on
the
it for a
23rd.
year. It's not like they've been on for years. Oops, I didn't have my.
Are you ready for the question? I'm going to test the house.
You can't, no, you can't.
So
What?
yes, we're using them, but
Speak
I
up.
think the fan is taking some of the sound away. I don't want to get too close because then you won't be able to understand me. Okay, well, just speak up if you can. Front row, right, in school. So the motion is to wait until January's council meeting and re-advertise not only on the website, but on the social media page of the town. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? I vote in favor. So we will re-advertise and await any information that comes regarding APC. We'll come to this table and we will be the body to make the decision at that time. Moving on to the contract planner, the current one, Mr. James Van Hemert. He'll be talking about the Town of Lake Couch and interim housing needs assessment for 2024. Welcome, James. Do you have a license for that vehicle?
Now, hang on. Am I on here? Okay. Just give me a second here. Okay. So I'm going to spend a few minutes because there's some very, well, I think interesting components to this interim housing needs assessment or report, which was reviewed by the Advisory Planning Commission at some length because we did require some input from them on how we made our conclusion. This housing needs assessment is a requirement through Bill 44 for the town. There was an assessment done a few years ago, but we had to update this, and I'll explain what was done in that update. I will begin by giving you the conclusion, and then I'll tell you how we got there. So the conclusion, hang on, I just had this open. So it's 20-year and 5-year. So the 20-year requirement for the town is 777 dwelling units over the next 20 years. And then you just divide that by 4 to get to the 5-year requirement, and that's 179. And how did we get there? And I think this is quite intriguing because it's not what you expect. And we did have to make some decisions. So in the previous assessment that was done a few years ago, we had a 5-year requirement for 172 dwelling units and 72 which had to be 1 bedroom, 40 2 bedroom, and 63 bedroom. So very high emphasis. I just want to point this out on 1 bedroom units. We also know that there's a high need for rental. So we have been promoting this, and this is going to be further promoted through the Housing Accelerator Fund grant that we received from the federal government. I will address that briefly. So this builds on that previous assessment, but we used the provincial methodology. It's very specific, and we saved a lot of time and money by using a software package or an app on a website by the University of British Columbia. It's the HEART program. So rather than using what is a fairly complicated methodology, they basically have done that work for us, and it's all laid out here. But I wanted to describe the components because I do think it's important to understand that. So on the first point, and if you are following on it, I'm going to page 6. And they have a starting point. It's not, the starting point isn't today for the next 5 years or today for the next 20 years. It actually starts in 2021. So our 5-year period's almost over. Now, my comment in the report here was this is a mystery. So I don't know the answer to it. We're just following the methodology, okay? So there's the component A, extreme core housing need calculation, okay? So for the town, and I went through through the spreadsheets, it's 20 dwelling units, 20. So that's extreme core need. So that's the first number. Then the second number is housing units tied to homelessness. So we've been assigned a number of homeless people based on our percentage of the region, okay? So that number is 20, just over 20 dwelling units, 20. So we're adding all these numbers up. So that's the next component. Then there's component C. It's called suppressed household formation. Now that's a big word. And what does that mean? Okay, this is kind of fun to talk about because it means these are households that aren't being formed because people can't afford or find a place to live. It's like that adult man living in the basement who doesn't have enough money to rent a place. Now, there might be other reasons why you might want to live in the basement. I mean, I think it's good to have there's other benefits to having multi-generations in a house, but this assessment does not address that. It just presumes, based on a rather complicated formula going back to 2006, and I'm just following the formula, we get a number of, and I go all the way, it's kind of fun, I go to page 10, and that number is 158. Now, never in my profession have I had to deal with it. It's not how I have looked at housing needs assessment. I look at growth rates and household size. But the province is taking a very nuanced and in-depth look. And they've concluded we need 158 units because of the suppressed demand. Okay, it's a formula, all right? But we have to include it in the assessment, okay? Now D, anticipated household growth. Now this is basically population growth. But they give us a lot of population growth because they're presuming that we are growing at the same rate as the rest of the region. We're not. Now that may change in the future, but I've been looking for that for 15 years and it hasn't yet happened. So that basically, the regional growth is going to be 30% over the next 20 years, but we're probably going to grow at about 1% a year. So that's 22%. So we, and I worked with the Advisory Planning Commission, they agreed, we're going to reduce that number. So we're looking at growth of 328 units to manage the growth. So that's 328 instead of 491. So we've reduced that number in the total, and we believe that's reasonable. Okay. Now there's a vacancy rate. So the rental vacancy rate, the ideal rate, according to the province, is 3%. Okay. So that means that's more units that have to become available because the current vacancy rate is 1.4%, at least regionally. So that's another, okay. 3.68 units, okay? I don't know why they do this. I'm forced, okay? I'm forced. I'm forced to do 2 decimal points, so 3.68, okay? So I put that in the list, okay? So we're adding these up. So you add all these numbers that I just threw out there, and they actually end up with 246 dwelling units, okay? Now, this is the magic number, okay? It's called the demand factor. Now, it's 1.22. Now, why it's 1.22 and not 1.21 or 1.25, that's a complete mystery. Now, that seems like a small number, but what it means is you take all the numbers I just talked about and you multiply it by 122%. That's more than double. That's called the demand factor. Okay, so this is the process, and this really makes the numbers big, okay? So, but because we have a reduced growth rate, or growth numbers, we actually have concluded, so we used a smaller base for the growth, and we ended up total 777 dwelling units. It would have been much higher, almost 1,000. That's a very hard number. To reach 1,000, that's like 50 dwelling units a year. Our biggest years in the last 15 years, I think, has been 35. So is it possible? Maybe. Is it likely? You know, things can change. But for now, that's where we are. Now, I added a few things in here just for our own usefulness. I actually have calculated what I think would be the actual need for the next 5 years, beginning now, not 4 years ago. So I have a page 15, just summarizes this. And this is data that we have presented to the CMHC for our Housing Accelerator Fund grant. And because we have a target to increase our building permits by 20%. And by the way, this year, we're already there. So we're over at 31 dwelling units have been permitted in this calendar year so far. So we're on track to meet that piece of the target. Now, we got to keep doing that for a few years to meet what would be the 95. We're proposing 95 dwelling units in 24, 25, and 26. So we are on track. And I just wanted to put these numbers down. So that's 146 dwelling units over the next 5 years. I like that number. It's lower, but I think it's realistic. I think it's actually where we're headed. Again, it could be more. Maybe when the hospital opens, we'll see more growth. Interest rates go down further. Anyway, so I just wanted to put that in. And I put some information in here, and the application at the UBC site allowed this, and it presented some data on housing need by bedroom count, affordable housing needs, and basically we got a deficit of 75 dwelling units in the low-income shelter range. So there is a need, and in the Advisory Planning Commission, there was a keen interest in learning about this, so we have put this in the report, and it's useful because we also are on track. We have a target with the half funding to achieve some affordable units and more rental units. And all this hard work we did this past year, I put it in this report because it's one of the requirements. What have you done, Town of Lake Cowichan, to get this done? Well, in the report, I talk about our accessory dwelling unit bylaw, the rental-only housing bylaw, and the increased density on a single lot bylaw. So that's a lot of work we've done this year. And that sets the stage for getting this all done. So and that concludes my report. Now, it is my understanding is that the province is expecting council to accept receipt of this in some mass fashion, and then we send this off to the powers that be. So that concludes my presentation on this. Any questions?
Thank you. And you're looking for approval of that report by
Yeah.
this table. Do I have a mover on that? Moved by Counselor Sandu, seconded by Counselor Bomaka. Turning for questions. Counselor Sandu?
Thank you. James, just regarding the rental only bylaw, have you had any owners of those properties that were designated? Have they come to you after council had passed that bylaw?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Two, we have, so one that has come forward with the development permit request is in play. There, it's the Surespan property at 15 South Shore Road, just a few lots away. They are proceeding with an application. So that's one. And the other one is there are two small lots next to the high school, which we rezoned to R7 and rental only. And we have an interested party in that one. We have met with that person. And that person was very positive about the action the town took. So I was really pleased. So yeah, that's what I can report. That's as much as I know. Those are two. Well, actually three. There's three. Those are three properties. Yeah.
Councilor Brumaka.
Mine was more of a, something that I noticed that was quite interesting, and thank you for your report. Because when I went to 2016 to 2021, and we basically went up with 175 owner households. But at the same time, we went down 165 in renter households.
Oh yeah, that's
So
yeah.
you can see it wasn't, it flipped.
yes.
That meant more people were moving into their own homes and not renting.
Good note. Good observation. Yeah.
And then after that, we went from the 385 of renters from 2016, and then 5 years later, we dropped to 220. And so I thought two things were at play, either people purchasing homes and moving in and being owner occupied, but at the same time, Lake Town Ranch came to town in 2016. And so I look at, is it because people changed to what we call the vacation rental and Airbnbs? So it would be interesting to see which of those caused that big shift.
Yeah.
Because that was quite a decline of 165 rental units. So thank you for all your hard work that you did.
Any further questions? Do secondary suites account for the housing needs assessment targets? So we have implemented accessory dwellings. Do they count within the
My understanding is that yes, they do count. We're certainly counting them for the Housing Accelerator Fund. Yeah, we're counting them. In fact, if I understand, we're actually filling out the form for the annual report. And that is part of their calculations is the secondary suites. Yes.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you, James. Appreciate it.
Now, this isn't on the agenda, but Joe said this is space. I can say a few words.
Well, if you address me as your worship, you
Your
probably.
worship.
If you do that, I won't, let you speak. Because I don't like that terminology.
I have never used it.
No, and I appreciate that. And
Yes.
I will yield the floor to you.
Oh,
Sir.
okay, thank you, Mayor. So, I have been planning with the town for 15 years. And it has been an honor and a pleasure, and it has been very enjoyable. And it has been just a delight to work with this town. And I started out as a part-time staff member because it was a joint position with the city of Duncan. Some of you may remember. I was planning director in Duncan and here. Well, and eventually after 18 months or so, that wasn't working out so well. And I actually ended up being a consultant through Golder Associates just for the town and ended the relationship with Duncan. But it's been 15 years. And then I hung out my own shingle in 2015 or so. So that's been 10 years. But it has been wonderful. And this is it. I am concluding my planning practice, if that hasn't been clear. I'm not going to work for anybody else. This is it. It's over. I've got other things to do in my life. But it has been wonderful working for you and the citizens and with the staff. And the staff here, Joe and Ronnie, I've been working with you all those years too. So it's been really good. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to work with you all these years. And I do have a presentation here. I have a little gift for the town. This is another side of me that you may not be aware of. So This is something, a drawing that I've created. And well, after spending time with the staff today, I thought, maybe a nice place to have this would be somewhere inside the town office where everybody can enjoy it on a daily basis. Well, if you think it's worthy. So I'm going to have some help because I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to drop this. So we're just going to lift this. Yeah, right there. So that's a drawing that I've made. It's a scene in the town that's looking down toward Country Grocer and so on. So I'm going to miss you guys too. So thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. I'm going to stick around because apparently I have one other item I might be asked to speak to. So.
You should autograph that picture, James.
It is.
Is it?
It's just-
Okay, good.
It is.
Thank you for those kind words, James. The feeling is mutual. We have appreciated the time that you have afforded us, and all past members and current members of the APC certainly appreciate your professionalism. So kudos to you on whatever you choose to do in the future. I'm sure grandkids are involved.
Yes, probably.
Yep.
For sure.
And with that, you should have had them first.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks again, James.
Okay, very welcome. Thank you.
So move on to bylaws. We have the Town of Lake Cowichan Subdivision Works and Services Amendment Bylaw number 1115-2024 may be reconsidered and adopted. Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, this bylaw has been given 3 readings, and it's here for reconsideration and adoption. And in the meantime, Mr. Van Hemet could speak to it if council allows him to.
Please.
Very briefly, this is kind of it's a little sideshow to all of the Bill 44 bylaws, because our subdivision bylaw includes 2 things that are not in the zoning bylaw, and that is lot frontage and lot depth. So in order to accommodate new lot sizes, like for duplexes and townhouses, and to accommodate some of the smaller lots in some of the districts, we recognize that our average lot widths didn't match up with the zoning bylaw, so that has been changed. So this now reflects what has been done in the zoning bylaw. And then, just because I know this has never really been an issue, and it's kind of an outdated idea, I propose that we eliminate the minimum lot depth standard. It's a little bit awkward, and there are cases where it's reasonable to have a lot that's maybe not so deep. But mostly, in my experience, it almost never happens that someone is trying to create really thin lots. It's usually the other direction, because the wider your lot, the more street frontage you have. So it didn't seem to make sense to try to work out new lot depths. So my proposal is that those are gone, and all the other numbers are just a reflection of different lot widths, particularly for lots that we now can create for duplexes and townhouses. So that's basically what happens here.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Frisbee?
I guess with the minimum lot depths, I mean, we've still got our setbacks from the front and the back of the property. So there are still those limitations, right? So it's,
Exactly, correct.
yeah, so it doesn't change much, does it? Thank you.
Thank you. So we have it moved and seconded. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. Thank you. Moving to the next bylaw, Town of Lake Cowichan Development Approval Procedures and Notification Amendment Bylaw number 1109-2024 may be read a first, second, and third time with an amendment proposed by Councilor Bamaka that shall include a digitized board within the town office. Is that correct? So you will move that with that amendment. Seconded.
If-
Joseph,
Yeah, if you may, you could give it first and second reading based on the bylaw as it is here. And on the third reading,
reconsider it third.
third.
Okay, so as is for first and second reading, please. Moved by Counselor Bomaka, seconded by Counselor Austin. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. And that'll come forward in January.
Yeah, for adoption. So the third reading, you want to pass third
So
reading?
now we will do third reading with
Amended.
your proposed amendment, Counselor Bomaka, of shall include.
Yes, please.
So moved by Counselor Bomaka, seconded by Counselor Sandu. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you. And no new business? So we'll turn to the mayor's report. So I'd like to start by wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year. Special thanks to my fellow counselors for your hard work and support this last year, and to staff and employees for fulfilling our directives. We'd also like to wish our contract planner, who just left on a scooter, James, all the best in his future endeavors as he moves forward from his time here. So in the past 15 years, as he stated, he has done exemplary work from the H-friendly plan to the OCP amendments, working alongside the APC and bringing forward great discussion for this table here. As 2024 comes to a close, I think it's important that we look back on some of the accomplishments from last year. Some highlights include several key capital accomplishments for the town. Most notably is the work on the sewer upgrades and improvements to the footbridge in the community. The sewer upgrades aim to enhance the town's infrastructure, reduce environmental impact, and improve overall public health and safety. Additional improvements to the footbridge will not only enhance pedestrian safety, but also promote a more walkable and interconnected urban environment. These accomplishments signify a commitment to ongoing investment in essential infrastructure and quality of life enhancements for residents and visitors alike. As we continue to prioritize sustainable development and infrastructure modernization, these achievements serve as a testament to the town's dedication to progress and innovation in achieving a thriving, resilient community for all. Also, new bathrooms and concessions at Centennial Park will accommodate better use of the whole facility. Kasapi Park improvements enhance the active transportation infrastructure connecting a renovated footbridge in the Uptown Corridor. The updated payment system at the Sandy Dump ensures that those using the facility are able to access it electronically without the hassle of donating in the honesty box. It has proven to be a very successful venture to date. Looking ahead, the town remains focused on further enhancing its infrastructure and quality of life for its residents, while remembering the pressures of all levels of taxation to our residents. Plans are already in motion for additional upgrades to the sewer system, as well as continued improvements to public spaces and amenities. By investing in sustainable development and modernizing infrastructure, the town is positioning itself for long-term success and growth. These ongoing efforts demonstrate a commitment to creating a vibrant and resilient community that prioritizes the well-being of its residents and the sustainability of its environment. With the dedication to progress and innovation, the town is paving the way for a prosperous future for all who call it home. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Mayor and Council of the Town of Lake Cowichan. And with that, we will move to question period. Notice as a motion? Do you have one?
Yes, I do.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank
Okay, I'll yield to you, Councillor Ramaka.
I'd like to make a notice of motion for an upcoming meeting that we look at amending, speed limit reduction on residential streets similar to Duncan and to Victoria. We have an increased, population of small children, and it seems to be we get more concerns to us as to people speeding well above the posted speed limits. So whether it can be reduced to 30 or 40, but I guess that's to go to staff, to come back with something on the table in the future. Thank
So
you.
Would you like that at the committee of the whole for next month?
If staff thinks that that is.
Is that appropriate?
time
Or
appropriate, or to,
would you like it at council in January?
How about February?
How about when applicable? So we'll move that forward at a appropriate meeting in the future.
thank you.
Thank you. Any further notices of motion? Now we'll go to question period. If there's anyone watching online that has a question on tonight's agenda, the phone number is 250-749-3239. Anyone in person that has a question on tonight's agenda items, if you feel the need to do so, please come up to the podium, press the microphone, state your name and your question, please, and we'll do our best to answer it.
Oh, my name is Blake Bergen. I just wanted to ask, I believe it's Lorna, the issue that you were mentioning just previous, the speed limit. I was a little confused as to your response. Is there going to be a meeting for that, or is this issue going to be addressed?
Yes, it will
So-
come forward in a meeting in the new year to discuss how we would move forward with reducing the speeds within residential zones.
Okay, because that's an important issue.
We have
Because
heard
there's a
that,
lot of speeding that goes on in this town in the residential areas.
appreciate that. We have accommodated some school zone signage on Stone Avenue
Mhm.
up to the first block by request of residents because that is becoming a busy drop-off and pickup spot for elementary students. So looking forward, we're looking to implement that in a discussion for the whole residential portion of the town.
And what about King George Street with the new, I believe it's a new Montessori school going in there? Is the speed limit going to be reduced there?
We'll be looking at all residential areas and
Because
that
I live on King George
is a
Street.
residential area, so we'll be
Yes,
looking at,
and the speeding is unbelievable on that street.
appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Any further questions? With that, I will say Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.